Come out and find 5 at the fair.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Twin Cities Live from the Minnesota State Fair. I'm Bob Bruce. We've got a great crowd gathered here today on the fairgrounds, and we've got a very interesting subject. The little fellow that I've got in my hand here, most of you would recognize him as E.T. Today, we have really a couple of subjects, but the same theme. One is, does a little fellow like this have satanic effects on your child? Are there other toys in your children's toy box that may have satanic effects? And that old, ever-popular theme of rock and roll music. Is it damaging the brains of the young people of America? Now, I have a mother right here. And could you stand up, please, ma'am? And Masters of the Universe, Smurfs, E.T., do you have those kind of toys?
Masters of the Universe, yeah.
Are you afraid that Masters of the Universe is going to have bad effects on your children?
I don't know. I'm not crazy about it.
Then why did you buy it for your children?
Because they want it. I don't know.
Because they want it. Well, our guest today is a gentleman by the name of Phil Phillips, and he has written a book called Turmoil in the Toy Box. Would you please welcome Phil Phillips? Phil, thanks for being with us today.
I'll tell you why she bought those toys.
Okay, yeah, well, maybe we should start with that. Why did she buy those toys?
She bought those toys because this is the first toy series in history to be simultaneously developed with a cartoon. The cartoon was developed with using licensed product. Do you understand what that means? It was like if Hunt's Ketchup developed a cartoon to sell Hunt's Ketchup. And these 30-minute cartoons, played as many as 18 times a week in some areas, act as commercials for the toys, creating peer pressure with the children to have these toys and setting in concrete the way the children play with the toys.
Okay, well, if indeed we agree with you that these programs act as commercials and sell toys, there are a lot of programs on television that could be said to act as commercials, but if indeed Masters of the Universe acts as a commercial, what's wrong with children having these toys?
Well, the thing that we deal with is negative effects in all different ranges. We deal with emotional negative effects and developmental negative effects, but the other thing of major concern is actual portrayals of the occult within the cartoons.
Now, before we get into the occult and cartoons, particularly the Smurfs, which one of my favorites, I watch them every Saturday with my son. Maybe I'm in trouble. I don't know. How did you get started doing this? I mean, how did you get started monitoring toys for the occult?
Well, I walked into a toy store about 3 years ago and saw a toy holding an occult symbol in its hand. It got my curiosity up. I picked up the toy and I took it back to the house I was staying at, and I read the little comic book, and there were a number of direct occult portrayals within that comic book, including the occultic symbol with the toy, which was a ram's head staff. The ram's head is a very occultic symbol. It's called a Norrock. And when it's pictured in occult books, many times it's pictured with the butt of the staff crushed onto the head of a dove. Now, what I was concerned about is that children were being programmed to accept the occult as the norm. The occult is a very violent religion.
Show me some examples here, and let's start with the Smurf, the little Smurf there. You've got tons of toys up there. Probably less than most children, but, you know.
Actually, I bought almost $2,000 worth of toys in the course of my research on this subject.
What's wrong with Smurfs?
The material. Smurfs falls in a category I call innocent and cute, because on the outset they are very innocent looking. I mean, if you walk down the toy store aisle, stuff like this would not shock you or amaze you at what is presented on the outside, but there's material connected with these toys that are actual portrayals of the occult. The word Beelzebub has been used numerous times on the shows The Smurfs, and in one show, Gargamel drew a pentagram, a 5-pointed occultic star, lit candles at each point, which is an actual witchcraft practice, danced inside the pentagram, chanting a magical spell, at which point a book opened up across the room, a spiritual entity left the book, entered his physical body, giving him power to levitate and do battle against the Smurfs. It's an actual portrayal of the cult.
Now, wait, I don't understand something here. Even if I agree with you that, and I believe on Skeletor, the staff with the ram's head is supposedly a symbol of the occult. Do you have that there? Do you see that laying around there?
I have Skeletor. I don't know if I have the ram's
Skeletor
head.
has a staff,
yeah,
and it has a ram's head, and that's supposedly a symbol of the occult. I'm 33 years old. I had no idea that that is a symbol of the occult. how in the world is my 4-year-old son going to know that it's a symbol of the occult? And how is it going to affect him if he doesn't even know what it is?
What we're talking about is a layer upon layer effect. If you have hundreds of shows portraying the occult before your children on a constant basis, what it does is it creates a desire to know more about the occult and a desire to delve into it. It creates a taste in the palate. Now, one thing you've got to understand is that children under the age of 7 view television in a vastly different manner than older children. They believe that what they see on TV is reality, not fantasy. And it's developmentally beyond them to explain this to them. It's like trying to explain to a 3-year-old, we'll do it tomorrow. They're back an hour later pulling on your pant leg going, is it tomorrow yet? There's no concept of time in that age group. As far as a preschooler is concerned, everything on television is reality. The other thing that they view is commercials as public service announcements. They believe everything is the truth told to them. And this is decidedly important when we understand that the average preschooler watches between 26 and 30 hours of television a week, or the average 18-year-olds watch 22,000 hours of television before he graduates from high school while only spending 11,000 hours in the classroom, and then turn around on the other side, and the average father in America, and this was a study done by placing hidden microphones on preschool-age children, spends approximately 37 seconds a day in direct communication with their preschool-age children.
Well, you mentioned all the hours of TV that children watch. That's true, but there's also a lot of good TV with Sesame Street, and there's a lot of good things on TV, and it also expands a child's horizons quite significantly. A lot of different programs. Maybe you're saying is that parents, which I believe in, should monitor what their children watch. Well, wait, before we go any further, let me ask this mother, the Cabbage Patch Kids, because I wanted to get that in here because I cannot see anything wrong with Cabbage Patch Kids. Now, do you see anything wrong with them?
No, I don't. I don't have any children that age right now that has one. She's too old for that, but I don't see anything wrong with them.
Well, how old is your child?
The oldest one is 15, and I have a 13 and a 6-year-old.
Do you think toys have changed recently from when they were children? Are they more violent, or were there G.I. Joes? There were G.I. Joes and stuff like that when your children grew up. I mean, are they having problems, or did you think your toys adversely affected them?
No, I don't think it's affected them. I think their imagination isn't what it used to be.
Well, how do you feel about that?
Okay, let me answer the question first. Sesame Street and those type of shows. First of all, the major studies that were done show that no more than 2 hours or no more than 1 hour a day is healthy for a young child to watch television. Okay, that's 14 hours maximum in the week. The other thing is that research has shown that shows such as Sesame Street actually decrease learning as compared to learning the same material out of books. Okay, the child who learns the same material out of books learns faster than Sesame Street. Cabbage Patch.
Yes, I mean, that may be true, but don't you think that you combine the two that it's more beneficial?
I don't know. I'm not...
I mean, there are a lot of children, especially in large cities, that don't have the money to go out and buy books, or perhaps don't have the parents to take the responsibility to teach them about books, but they can watch Sesame Street for free on television, and that may be the only education they get.
I'm not here to knock Sesame Street as such, except for the portrayal of the material slows down the educational process compared to studying in books. Now, Cabbage Patch. Cabbage Patch is a perfectly healthy, normal doll in most respects. In fact, it's a better doll than most because it's soft, it's a lovable type doll. But there is one minor problem with it, and it's called responsibility training. It's something that's done in junior high and high schools by giving a hard-boiled egg to a kid and saying, this is your child, you have to take care of it or it dies. That's basically what's happened with Cabbage Patch through the adoption certificate, through other things that other people have done, not necessarily the company. You can send them off to summer camp, you can marry them, you can bury them, you can buy fur coats for them, and if you look at the kids carrying dolls in the mall, it's normally Cabbage Patch. Now, your child could play with Cabbage Patch and not be affected by it if you step in and make sure that they're not overextending the reality of the doll to where it's alive and they believe that they have to take care of it 24 hours a day. Now, that's too heavy a trip to lay on a 4-year-old kid. Now, as long as they don't believe that, you're all right.
The effects that these toys have on the children, are they subliminal, or is it just the constant TV watching that you feel is causing these children to believe in the occult, which I don't think most of them know, but I'm just kind of interested to learn what the effect is.
The real thing that I've come against is the fact that children play with toys that are linked to television shows, and the shows, see, a child projects himself with his imagination into a toy. He brings it to life, he gives it character, abilities, talents, and sets the surrounding around it. Now, what happens when he watches television is that an adult imagination, adult creativity has told him what this toy is going to do. Okay? It's told him what character this toy has. It's told him what abilities it has. It's told him that this toy has occult powers and can levitate, can call forth demons out of a pit, can call on the supreme evil. And these are words that they use in the cartoons. And so what happens is the television programs the child and eliminates 90% of the healthy play value of a toy. Toys are healthy to play with. There's nothing wrong with toys that are good.
And we'll get to some of those toys that you're talking about that you believe are good, but now your question.
Don't you still get back to the same issue of that, like the He-Man toy, who wins? The good guy always wins. They're also pushing that issue into the children. The Skeletor, you never see him win. He might get a slight victory, but in the total end, it's always He-Man that wins.
It's a good point, because I know that there have been a lot of stories that say that the struggle between good and evil, that this actually reinforces in a child that the good guy always wins, and that it's, you know, right over evil.
Getting back to the Lone Ranger days in the Westerns, the Indians didn't win.
Yeah,
they always lost. And you could always say that, well, they believed in many different gods, so the old Westerns had the satanic effect because they didn't believe in one basic god. They had many gods.
It's not the same. What's happened here is that good is confusion, and they're empowered by spiritual forces. He-Man lifts a sword in the air and yells by the power of Grayskull. There's a spiritual force in that castle that empowers him to do what he's doing. There's a spirit in the castle. It manifests itself in the shape of a skull. He's empowered to do good through this spiritual occultic power. Now, he has a friend called the Sorceress, who through occult witchcraft power does good. He has a friend called Tila, the warrior goddess, who's also called the patron saint of all warriors. She is seen carrying a cobra head and all this junk. And so what happens is that the good is empowered and uses as much occultic symbolism as the evil does.
All right, now wait a minute. Let me jump in here. It's true, by the power of Grayskull, and they say that in the cartoons. But did you ever read Greek mythology?
Yes.
Do you believe in Zeus?
I believe the possibility of that being at one time, yes.
You believe in that?
There's no reason not to. I haven't seen any proof not to believe in it. It's kind of like, do you believe in UFOs? Is there any proof? Is there any proof that there is no such thing as a UFO?
No. Well, I mean, I read Greek mythology. I don't believe in Zeus or any of that stuff.
There's a little problem in the terminology there, because Greek mythology to you is Greek mythology. But we look back at the Greeks, and they worship those things as a religion. Their social, economic system was built around the worship of those gods.
Are you telling me we're going to have a Skeletor He-Man religion now?
Well, they're lifting them up as a god-like being.
Do you believe in the lost city of Atlantis? Do you believe that's a possibility?
No.
You believe there's no possibility? How about the Bermuda Triangle?
Not unless it was a natural phenomenon.
How do you feel about this? Stand up here and talk to me on this thing. I mean, you're sitting here and you're soaking this all in, and I'm trying to understand it myself. How do you feel about this?
I really can't tell you. I really don't know.
I want you to hold up a couple more toys and show me some of your examples.
Let me tell you something. I got 5 or 10, 15 minutes on this show to tell you everything that I've spent 3 years researching. I've got a book out on the market. It's called Turmoil in the Toy Box. If you really want to judge what I'm saying, get the book. Don't judge it by what I'm saying on here. But
okay, now, so we're talking about toys, and we're going to hold up some more examples. We've got to take a break right now, and we're going to have the Peters brothers come out and talk to us about rock and roll music and some of the effects that has on our children right after this, next on Twin Cities Live.
Here at the Weight Loss Clinic, you lose weight fast. You can lose as much as 1 dress size every 2 weeks and get results like these.
Look at her. Doesn't she look great?
So thin.
At the clinic, Pat Shermone lost 71 pounds and went from a size 22 to a 12.
All my friends really notice the difference, and my husband is so proud of me. Thank you, Weight Loss Clinic.
This summer, I'm wearing a bikini for the first time in 10 years.
At the Weight Loss Clinic, Chris Cross lost 58 pounds and went from a size 14 to a 5.
Life's a lot more fun now, and I'm a lot more fun to be around. Thank you, Weight Loss Clinic.
We help those people, and we'd like to help you. We can help you lose as much as one dress size every 2 weeks. So call the Weight Loss Clinic now. We'll give you all the facts, plus a 30-minute consultation, absolutely free. Remember, our nurses make the difference. You can lose up to one dress size every 2 weeks, so call us at the Weight Loss Clinic now.
Louise, tonight's the bowling tournament. My shirt's stained.
Oh, relax. I've got new Arm & Hammer all-fabric bleach. It attacks stains, whitens whites, brightens colors.
Shirt looks great.
New Arm & Hammer all-fabric bleach.
Cleans, brightens, costs less, too.
Louise, it's so wet outside, it smells wet inside.
We need Arm & Hammer carpet deodorizer. 100% active deodorizing ingredients. While ordinary brands sit on top, Arm & Hammer penetrates to destroy deep-down odors.
Whole room's fresh.
Work better, longer, cost less, too.
Well, do you consider yourself a healthy person, but you have a few minor addictions that you just can't quit? Do you have an addiction to sugar? Most of us that come to the State Fair certainly get a little bit of that addiction, or maybe caffeine, or maybe you're just smoking too much. Well, Twin Cities Live wants to hear from you. Next Friday's guest, Dr. Giller, will guarantee that his revolutionary new book, Medical Makeover, is going to help you get over your addiction to caffeine, to sugar, to tobacco. 641-1298. That's the number to call. If you want to help yourself get over that, this book is quite fascinating. Medical Makeover is the name of it. We'll have that for you. Call us 641-1298. That's Friday, right here on Twin Cities Live. Talking with Phil Phillips, I want to grab a question here real quick, and then I want you to hold up, you have a toy there you want to show us.
I just want to know why and how rock music is so bad.
Okay, wait a minute. Let's come back to this because we want to get to rock music. First, I want to see another example of a toy.
Okay, this is a real child development type toy. We've got a monkey's head here with cobras across it, and this Ankh. This is the Egyptian symbol of life, also considered the occultic cross. Now, the child places his hand through here, and when he hits the wrong hole, if I can hit the wrong hole, we get the clinch on the wrist and a skull popping out of the end of the casket. Now, what play value does that have for a child, and why should we get a toy like that for a child?
Well, I mean, just because a toy is manufactured doesn't mean that as a parent we have to buy it.
That's right, and that's the point of the book. You need to become informed on, number one, what your children are watching, and number two, what your children are playing. Make an informed decision. Don't just take my word for it. Research it yourself.
What about E.T.? I mean, I mentioned E.T. at the top of the program. I mean, look at this. I mean, this is cute. What is wrong with this?
There are a number of occultic images portrayed in E.T., and probably the thing that I most hold against it, I can't say on television, so I'm sorry.
Well, why can't you say it on television?
Because it was quoted to me by the co-writer of E.T.
Oh, well, what is, I mean, can you, in a roundabout way, say something? I mean, what is it, sexual innuendo, or what are you talking about here?
Yes, he talked about weaving in visual subliminals into the movie itself. Visual subliminals are things that
Steven Spielberg.
Seen on the screen. No, the co-writer.
Oh, the co-writer. Okay. So between the movies and television, our children have really got a tough task. Is that what you're saying?
Right. Let's take Lucas, for instance. His trilogy, the Star Wars, did over $500 million. There was a number of inferences to Zen Buddhism within the Star Wars. In fact, the whole Star Wars series was really based on the religion of Zen Buddhism. He comes back. He's got a movie out, cartoon out called Ewoks. Ewoks has Zen Buddhism and other things in it almost constantly. They show the yin-yang symbol. They also have soul trees, which are things that are planted when the Ewok is born, and they grow, and they have spiritual telepathy between the tree and the Ewok itself. If the Ewok dies, his spirit goes into the tree. If the soul tree dies, then the Ewok dies.
To me, I just think it's kind of clever writing. It's kind of...
But again,
fertile imagination.
It's spiritual things, and if Christians put out cartoons that were so blatantly spiritual, all three networks would refuse them. But they'll take anything besides Christian religion.
With us now, and you're talking about religion and rock and roll, many people feel that that is probably one of the biggest threats to religion, and probably none feel that more honestly than Steve and Dan Peters from the organization Truth About Rock. Steve and Dan, of course, have been on many times on newscasts throughout the Twin Cities because they're based here and they travel around the country. I guess recently the biggest flap over rock and roll was on Capitol Hill in Washington when they came up with a rating system. And there was a lot of publicity. Some congressmen, senators' wives got together and said, we want to rate these records like we rate movies. And personally, there was a big flap, and now you haven't heard anything about it. What happened to
In
that?
Newsweek this week, there's an article that Tipper Gore and the group from the PMRC are continuing to push the industry for the rating. I don't know if you noticed also last week, it was also reported in Rolling Stone magazine in a national survey, 80% of adult Americans believe rock records ought to be rated. The lyrics that are being promoted in rock, and even as Phil has expressed a concern for children, sometimes it's the children that are the biggest fans of the most bizarre forms of rock. To have promoted hour after hour things like our own hero from Minneapolis sings about in Prince when he wants to talk about Darling Nikki masturbating in a motel lobby with a magazine, when he's got an ode to masturbation on every one of his albums. I think maybe it's time that we somehow put a rating on there so parents can help their kids make good choices in their music.
I want to come back to the rating because you feel even more strongly than a rating. You'd like to do away with them altogether, correct?
No, not true. We don't think there's any way to get rid of guys like Prince, but we think we can somehow take away his platform. We're concerned about the great freedom he gets to speak out on tax-supported platforms around the country.
Prince has some very suggestive songs. I'll give you that. But let's go to a video.
You better give me that.
let's show a rock video, Bananarama. And the song is called Venus, and I want you to watch this at home and see if you can pick up something in here that might be offensive to your children and might harm them. All right, Steve?
Is there any doubt in anyone's mind why a 500,000 teenagers in America will try to attempt suicide this year? Here's this woman coming out of a coffin. I haven't seen that lately, dancing in front of the flames, the fire. Why are so many rock groups so mortified? Why are they so morbid in their lyrics and their songs and glorifying
death?
That
particular video has to do with suicide?
Well, other than the fact that she's coming out of a coffin, a lot of these kids feel like if they commit suicide, they're going to come back. Some of the popular philosophies in rock music. Ozzy Osbourne talking about suicide solution. Suicide's the only way out is what he's talking about on that particular song. Why don't you kill yourself? Here's someone trying to come back to life. We are concerned about rock videos and rock
Don't you
music.
think it's a little degrading when the woman is always an object of sexual gratification? I mean, the gyration. To me, it just
you say
degrades women.
gyration, and they've been saying gyrations since 1950 when Elvis Presley
We don't leave as
first
much to the
appeared
imagination.
when Elvis Presley appeared in Memphis, Tennessee, when I was a youngster, a real youngster, they said he was a disciple of the devil and he was going to ruin society, and society hasn't been ruined.
Well, what kind of leader was Elvis? He died with 14 different drugs coursing through his veins.
That's a wholesome example for America.
That's really good. He slept with thousands of different teenage girls.
You agree with that, right?
Yeah, I do.
You agree with that?
Yeah.
You think that people like that, like Bananarama, shouldn't be able to do a video and have it on MTV and have the public see it?
No, I don't think it's not good.
You don't believe in free speech and everybody being able to say what they believe and do things in their own way in America?
Well, sometimes.
Sometimes?
It depends.
I don't think it's a sometimes proposition. Personally, I don't think it's a sometimes proposition.
We're not trying to take that particular video off of MTV. What it does bother me, though, is you try to get some of the Christian things on the video channels, and you just can't make it.
I just have to say, what is it? What can we do about it?
I think we can do an awful lot to try to stop some of this, to take away their platforms. We want to encourage parents to get back into their kids' lives again. Most parents have no idea what their kids are watching. Even in the Arbitron ratings here in the Twin Cities, they suggest that the largest viewing audience of the videos are children between the ages of 8 and 11. And I don't believe the average child of that age can tell the difference between hype and reality. And so when women are objects of sexual gratification, it begins, they say, to destroy some of the moral fiber of America. Even the feminist groups are on the case of guys like Billy Idol because of the way they've promoted the abuse of women in their videos.
I'd like to ask the question of why really are you doing this? I mean, you're trying to take teenagers' fun away and make them miserable, or what? What is your motivation behind all these promoting your philosophies?
We're trying to let teenagers and parents be aware. All we're trying to do is make them aware. We're not trying to ban this. We're not trying to censor anyone. And then we want to point them to another way. Jesus Christ has changed our lives. We think maybe we ought to have a few more videos about him.
Well, if you didn't like the last video, all right. If you didn't like the last video, Steve and Dan and Phil, I know you're not going to be too thrilled with David Lee Roth, with Yankee Rose.
Hey,
now
we're
watch
praying
this one,
for him.
and there is a little something here that even I object to. This is a
You're
little
kidding.
risque. A little
You
risque.
do?
Yes, but I'm not going to set my child down and make him watch it.
A bottle of anything and a glazed donut. To go.
Don't you think if you watch music videos and you watch David Lee Roth, don't you think that he's kind of just laughing at himself and doing that stuff, that it's just kind of for fun, and that he's not really serious about some of the stuff that he's doing there?
We were on ABC Nightline with Ted Koppel, and we debated David Lee Roth. He said, with his own words, if there's any integrity to be said about rock music, it's that we sing about the way we actually live.
And he also shared on the same program the fact he carries paternity insurance, which he gets from Lloyd's of London, because of his sexual escapades with so many little groupies after shows, and if he gets them pregnant, at least the insurance will pay to raise the kid.
Now, it may be true that David Lee Roth doesn't live the kind of life that you feel is the way that most people should live.
That I feel, that most Americans feel,
don't
fella.
go along with that.
Go right ahead.
I consider myself a real liberal mom, and I totally agree with what the guests say, because I'm going through this with my own son right now as far as the rock concerts and T-shirts. He brings home the T-shirts, and there's nothing mellow on the T-shirts.
Nothing.
It's blood, skeletons, just terror-type things. And I let him wear them, but he doesn't wear them in front of me, because I work at a place where I work with teenagers, and I know a lot of the stuff is phases, but a lot of it isn't. What you said about suicide is totally 100% on. The high suicide.
You think that the music is causing the high teenage suicide
What
rate?
he said about the high suicide rate, the problem with teenagers and suicide is they think it is a temporary thing. They don't think far enough to realize that that's permanent. And I think it definitely affects the kids, because I'm going through it right now.
Dr. Robert Littman is the world's foremost expert on teen suicide, and he's traveling because he feels, and speaking to parents groups, because he feels rock music is having an influence on the suicide rates in America. We've had a young man that's traveled with us, I think he's also been on KSTP, who shot himself in the face, took a shotgun, put it underneath his chin in an attempt to kill himself as he listened to the song called Killing Yourself to Live by Black Sabbath. He said he got himself into such a negative frame of mind from listening to all this negative heavy metal music. That's all he saw was the negative stuff of life.
And you base that all on the rock music.
Oh, we've got a number
Don't you think that teenage suicide is quite a bit more complex
Yes,
than
we all say that.
just a rock and roll album?
It's just one thing that's responsible. But the question would be, Bob, if they're only 1% responsible, are they responsible? According to the laws today, if there's somebody standing up on the edge of the grandstand about to commit suicide, and you stand at the bottom and tell them to jump, even though they've already made up their mind to jump, they're already up there. You tell them to jump, the courts of law can hold you responsible.
Well, I'll have to differ with you there, because the courts of law just found Ozzy Osbourne innocent on
a technicality, but the judge said he could refile the suit again.
AC/DC has a song out called Give Me a Bullet, Shoot to Thrill, Put Your Gun Up to Me, I'm going to pull the trigger, shoot to thrill, way to kill. What's a 14-year-old teenager going to think?
A suit is just like
listening
against
hour
Judas
after
Priest.
hour.
All right, let's go to another video. This is Madonna and Papa Don't Preach, and this is a different sort of message, I think, that we'll get out of this particular video.
It's a good gospel message, yeah.
All right, real quickly, what was wrong with that?
That's a great sequel to her song Like a Virgin, touched for the very first time as she writhes around on the floor like an experienced prostitute. She tells the girls of America, sleep with anybody you want, have sex as often as you want, because you can, when you find Mr. Right, you can start all over like a virgin. And now here's her song, Papa Don't Preach, I'm now pregnant, I've decided to keep my baby, don't give me a hassle, I'm going to live my own lifestyle. I mean, that's a tremendous good set of values to teach to the teeny boppers of America. Don't you think, Bob?
All right.
That's right. Throw the ball back into my court. Throw it back over here.
I think it's time we take away platforms like that.
with all videos. Personally, Madonna, I don't see any big problem with Madonna, because she's basically a copy of Marilyn Monroe back in the 50s with rock videos.
I don't know that
We're
Marilyn
gonna
Monroe was ever in
all right,
Playboy
if you don't
magazine.
agree, we'll talk to you in just a moment. We got a break right now. We're coming right back.
You'll find your home at Gabbard's. You'll find a world of wonderful things waiting for you at Gabbard's.
Last night they bought their
first piece of furniture at Gabbard's. Tonight, it's the center of their home. At Gabbard's, we start a lot of them, because at Gabbard's, we have the right piece of furniture at the right price for the right home. Come, find your first home at Gabbard's. In the Galleria, Edina.
Minnesota women are breaking new ground. Better jobs, better pay, more government participation. That's why women from all parts of Minnesota support Governor Rudy Perpich.
He's demonstrated his commitment. He cares about people. He's been responsive to issues.
This administration has an unprecedented commitment to women, and we are proud to run on that record.
Perpich Johnson, moving Minnesota forward.
That kind of record, I think, deserves strong support.
Accident and insurance laws are complex, and if you've been injured in an accident, you're smart to put yourself in the care of a law firm like Schwabel, Getz, and Sieben. We'll help ensure you receive acceptable compensation for your injuries, medical care, and property damages. Does it cost more to hire a lawyer from Schwabel, Getz, and Sieben? No. In fact, there's no fee until your case is settled. For a complete recovery, call the law firm of Schwabel, Getz, and Sieben.
Can you serve tacos at home that taste like they came from a fine Mexican restaurant? Can you get crispy taco shells made from fresh corn instead of processed corn flour? And a chunky taco salsa with the flavor of sun-ripened tomatoes, fresh onions, and fire-roasted chilies? Yes, for the taste of authentic Mexican food, see Ortega.
See Ortega! See Ortega! See Ortega!
Can you imagine living alone 1,000 miles away from home and being accused of a crime that you just did not commit? That's exactly what happened to next Tuesday's guest, Steve Fossum. He was convicted of rape charges, was serving out his 10-year sentence when justice prevailed, and he was granted a pardon, a full pardon, which is, what's it like living behind bars, knowing that the guy that committed the crime is running around free? We'll find out when you join us in our studio audience. That's next Tuesday, 641-1298 for free tickets. And you can meet Steve Fossum, his mother, his sister, and Ron Meshresher, who was his attorney who got him set free. Again, call us at 641-1298. Go ahead.
Well, first I'd like to comment on the Madonna video. Well, now sure, you showed that particular clip because that's what most of the jury needs. Also,
no, we didn't set that up. That was by the station.
That's a Bob Bruce setup.
Okay, well, also in that video, you know, in the end, she is pregnant and she does go to her father for help, and her father first doesn't understand. Except at the end of the video, it shows her father understanding and them getting together, being together as a family.
She decides to keep the baby.
Oh yes,
which is against abortion. Which
we appreciate that.
You know, isn't that a positive message in that video? That she decides to keep the baby instead of having an abortion? Isn't that a positive?
We are against abortion. Yes, you're right.
I really appreciate that there is something positive, a redeeming value that must somehow justify her whole reason for existence there.
That does happen, and also I'm from a city about 80 miles south of Minneapolis, and down there we had an instance in which a boy apparently was beating a lady over the head with a cinder block. Now he just had to, of course, have headphones on and listen to a tape with the song Skull Crusher on it. Just naturally, it just had to be like that. Now, how would you guys attack a situation like that?
There happens to be a lawsuit that was filed this last year in Toronto, Canada, from a young man who killed his parents, and he said Eddie made him do it. Eddie, of course, is the fictional character in the group called Iron Maiden, and on their tour throughout America called Peace of Mind, they do violent things with Eddie. Last year, they cut off his head, they took out his brains and threw it into the audience. But this young man claimed that Eddie gave him the inspiration to murder his own parents. There was another group called The Police. They had a song called Murder by Numbers. They taught kids how to systematically murder their parents and leave no evidence for the police to find. I think if parents realize their kids have that album, they may want to sleep with the lights on.
Okay, your question.
Well, my question is, I agree with you. A lot of these videos bring across the workings of Satan, and that are things that are against Christian thinking. But I think, I have one teenager now and two past the teenage stage, and they kind of went through a phase. My oldest daughter was on Elvis Presley when she was in her teens and younger. but I just didn't make a big point of it. I try to point out what things they're doing that might be wrong, or in the, in their singing, their video. And like my second daughter, when she was in the lower teens, was very much a Mick Jagger and kind of fanatic there.
He's a wholesome example.
But they're healthy, right?
Yeah, but I didn't make a
Rolling
point of it. I
Stones.
kind of point out some of the bad things.
Ignore it and it'll go away?
And actually it went away. Now they don't care for them at all. And they went into better type of music. But I just kind of left them alone. I didn't make a big...
That does happen.
Let's face it here. With a teenager, if you tell a teenager, no, you're not going to be able to listen to this record, isn't going to push them more towards, oh, now you're holding up Whitney Houston. Now you're going to tell me that Whitney Houston is bad.
Well, I think we ought to talk about some of the mellow groups, because we're not just having a problem with heavy metal. We've also got a problem with mellow groups. She's got a song that's done real well. This album has sold over 6 million copies. Her song, Saving All My Love For You, is her love song about her illicit affair with a married man. She talks about her secret rendezvous with this guy and how he keeps promising her he's going to leave his family, divorce them, and marry her.
We think all music needs to be examined.
Yes.
Bob, anything
Phil, all
you
right,
listen
we're
to?
talking about music too, and Phil, jump in here too on the toys about the manufacturers. I'm sure the record guys aren't too pleased with the Peters brothers. How about the record manufacturers? And we should mention that we talked to some of the manufacturers, the communications director of the Toy Manufacturer Association in New York, and asked them to come in and talk about this, and they didn't want to come in and talk about it.
He wouldn't, because they don't want to debate it. They don't want to deface themselves in front of national
That's
television.
because we all think that
they won't be out
you
here.
guys are all raving fanatics.
Okay, wait a minute. We're going to get to our guest down here in just a moment. Wait just a moment here. Go ahead, Phil.
Let me tell you something about free speech and so-called censorship. Censorship takes place every day in every form of media there is.
Yeah, that's right.
In newspapers, in television, somebody decides what's news, somebody decides what goes into print, and many times that's biased towards other things. Also, censorship takes place in your public library. Somebody decides what books go in and stay out. Censorship is something that takes place every single day of your life, and we're not here, quote-unquote, burning books or burning toys, but we are here suggesting that there needs to be something better out there for society.
Well, and you definitely have the right to do that. I firmly believe in that. You definitely have the right to come out and say whatever you want to about your beliefs. You're not burning books, but the Peters brothers have burned records before. I'll guarantee you, I've seen that myself, that they've burned records.
See those kids with the crazed look in their eye.
All right, this gentleman down here, now before we go any further, now let's when did I lose control here? This gentleman in the leather jacket is Mr. Bill Lindsay, and he is in a hard rock group called Impaler. And Mr. Lindsay, I'm sure you have a few things to say about what the Peters brothers feel about rock and roll.
Yeah, quite a few things, actually. Yeah, you go to those record burnings, and I've seen a lot of pictures of them, the kids with the crazed look in their eye, throwing the records on,
Is that like that same
chanting
drug
and
craze
stuff,
look they get at your concert?
Okay, now let's let Mr. Lindsay have his say.
It's their own type of brainwashing, and I want to point out to them that these kids, they point out that kids do violent acts and things like that, listen to rock music. Here's a guy he lived back in the early 1900s. His name was Albert Fish. And he castrated young boys and mutilated young girls, and he said God told him to do it. So maybe we should put a rating on the Bible, don't you think? I mean, there's a whole lot of cases of people...
He brings up a very good point there.
They said God made him do it, opens up on a parking lot full of innocent people with a gun. God made him do it,
Now, one of the things that Phil mentioned earlier, saying as far as the Smurfs, I remember reading your book, you said that because the Smurfs went to Papa Smurf, and he came up with this, potion or whatever, and created these, let's call them miracles, to get them out of trouble, couldn't a person come and say, well, you follow the Bible, and God had miracles, isn't that the same thing?
We're talking about occultic origin. Let me tell you something about violence in the Bible. He's talking about violence. Between the Old and the New Testament, there's a major marked difference. After the New Testament, after Jesus enters the scene, no longer is violence used as judgment or to settle anything.
I'm saying that people, if somebody's crazy, they're going to air them. They're going to air that craziness, whether it be through rock music, through religion, through sex, whatever. If somebody's a nut, they're going to go off the end no matter what.
Don't you think that there's
I think
a much
it's ridiculous that you're, rock and roll is tired of being a scapegoat to you people, and I know you're making a living off it,
And you're not making a living off of it?
You know, this is a
Hey,
gimmick.
you're not making
This is a gimmick, and I know you guys know what good gimmicks are because you're selling books and all kinds of paraphernalia.
We've made millions
just
of dollars.
like we
right.
are, so, you know.
All right, your question.
I have a question for Phil. You haven't said anything about Dungeons and Dragons, the game.
Dungeons and Dragons is a very occultic game, but let me talk about the form of play, okay? The form of play is something called fantasy role-playing. It was developed by a person called Jacob L. Marino around the turn of the century. It is a psychological form of thought. What happens is the creation of a fantasy character as compared to your own personality. And the longer you play it, the more your personality is drawn toward the fantasized personality. It's documented, it's out there.
All right, and we will be right back with more with Phil Phillips, the Peters Brothers, and Bill Lindsay of the Impalers right after this.
Carol Burnett spoofs nighttime soaps this fall. Farrah plays a famous Nazi hunter this fall. So this week's People spotlights everything worth watching this fall. People celebrates People with our big annual preview of Eddie Murphy gearing up, Lucy coming back, Streisand in fine stride, Tina taking a turn, and Alf live, or sort of. It's People's fall preview of movies, TV, music, books, and much more. Week after week, People celebrates People. This week, hits and hoots for fall.
Do burgers sometimes give you that heavy feeling?
Lingerie, housewares, bedding, notions, knickknacks, tie-tacks, trousers, tweezers, tights, toys.
Fortunately, there's a cure. The taco salad from Taco Bell. Crisp iceberg lettuce, garden fresh vegetables, tangy cheddar cheese, and seasoned ground beef. So why load yourself down with burgers?
Hi, guys.
Lighten up with a cool, refreshing taco salad instead from Taco Bell. Get your kids the new Right Riders Kids Meal with a special prize inside from Taco Bell.
Northern bathroom tissue has a special kind of softness because it's quilted. And you can feel the difference quilting makes. Northern, quilted for a special kind of softness.
Introducing a breakthrough in dryness. Revolutionary new Ultra Pampers. Revolutionary because only Ultra Pampers has a thin lock-away core. This core actually takes wetness and locks it away from baby's skin so effectively you can't even squeeze it out. So even when they're wet, they're dry. It's the newest member of the Pampers Blue Waist Shield family. Revolutionary new Ultra Pampers. Even when they're wet, they're dry. The driest ever.
Okay, I want to grab a quick question here, quick answer, because I want to get into back masking. Go ahead.
I think Mr. Lindsay made a legitimate point about there are all sorts of crazies or disturbed people who catch on and amplify any type of different motivations. And in regard with what the gentleman on the other end said about censorship, it's not any of these media companies' responsibility to give everybody the whole picture. It's your responsibility as a citizen. The thing we need to protect is the right of all the different sides to print what they think so that people who want to educate themselves can go out and find it. And I think the problem with these folks in the center is that the easiest way they've found to try and push their word, promote their message, their mission, is to try and stamp out the other thing.
We're not trying to do that. Speaking of crazies who we've been accused of
How
by
can you
Bill
say you're
Lindsay,
not trying to do that when you burn records? I mean, how can you say that?
we don't tell kids what they have to burn. We don't...
I mean, isn't that a violent act, taking records and burning it in a flame? Isn't it a violent
Don't you
act?
put out your garbage once a week on the curbside? Don't you think
No, I
people
don't burn my
throw
garbage.
away?
It's
You
against
throw
the
it
law.
away.
All right, I want to get into
Somebody else does it
backmasking
for you
here.
then.
Wait a minute, gentlemen. I want to get into backmasking
Talk
because
about-
I think the people are intrigued by this. For those of us that grew up in the Beatles generation, I think they were maybe the first ones to do it with Paul as dad and a couple other things. The first example we have here is Queen, Another One Bites the Dust. And this is playing the record backwards. And listen if you can figure out what it's trying to say.
Another one bites the dust. Another one bites the dust. Ow! Another one bites the dust. Hey, hey! Another one bites the dust. Hey!
That's forward.
That was forward. How many of you could hear something about marijuana?
Okay, first of all, we heard it forward, the regular way, and then we heard it backwards, and it appeared to me that how many people heard the word marijuana?
Look at that.
Did you hear that backwards? No? You didn't hear that? Yeah, it's a little vague, but how do you feel about that, Steve?
To decide to smoke marijuana, it's fun to smoke marijuana. We've talked to a lot of young people who like to get high to that particular song, rock music. You talk to a drug addict, that's what they listen to when they're firing up on drugs. So we are real concerned. Backmasking is not our big thing. We're not out burning records is not our big thing. Awareness. We want parents and teenagers to become aware.
All right, let's move on now to the Beatles. I mentioned the Beatles. This is Revolution 9. Let's take a listen first frontwards and then backwards.
Number 9, number 9, number 9, number 9, number 9, number 9.
Did anybody get anything out of that? I didn't get anything out of that. Well, I'm sure you did.
Oh, no, we didn't discover this. This was before we were born, just about somebody discovered that it said, "Turn me on, dead man." And, of course, that was back in the Paul McCartney.
That said, "Turn me on, dead man."
You know, I'd like to point out that dog backwards is God, you know? I mean, certain words backwards are going to sound like something no matter what.
Just because you interpolate the letters doesn't mean the sounds...
We're not really big into...
We make our records to be played forward,
I'd like to talk to you, Bill. I'd like to talk to you, Bill, about how you do make your records. You're accusing us of being a crazy. Could we get a real good close-up of this clean piece of record, that first album that Imperil will put out? How many of you adults, you parents with teenagers, would like your kid to dress like this? How many of you would like to have this poster up in your teenager's home? Let's hear it. Come on.
It's a woman being ripped apart here. He's got the hand of the woman there.
Can you see it there?
Well, you know, our band is... we watch a lot of horror movies and read a lot of comic books and things like that. On the educational channel here, they showed Night of the Living Dead.
Comic book? This is comic book.
Full uncut version.
Tell us about it, Bill.
This is just another piece of that.
Okay,
you know?
We're going to break right here and come right back. We'll be right back with you on Twin Cities Live.
Hello, I'm Ruth Spencer, and watching Eyewitness News on Tuesday, you found an exclusive 5 Inside investigation. How safe are the ambulances that are supposed to save your life? More on that tonight at 10. But first, on the early newscast, high water has Lake Pulaski residents feeling soaked. And you'll meet a woman who looks at taking care of orangutans as a lot more than monkey business. Find it on 5. Find it on 5. That and more tonight on Eyewitness News.
Take this iWorks eye test. Have you ever seen an eye care store this complete? Where a doctor of optometry gives you a total eye exam? Can you see the over 4,000 frames to choose from? Now focus on our computer that helps you choose just the right frames. Our contact lens center. And ultra-fast service from our in-store lab. Is it clear the iWorks is the eye care superstore? Then you've got 20/20 vision. Call for an exam or bring your prescription to the iWorks. Glasses fast, glasses right.
Back to school at Famous Footwear. Hot shoes, hot at the right price. No. Get another hot at Famous Footwear. Look, Mom, Transformers. Hot shoes.
Skimmers for me for $21?
Really hot. Leatherboat mops, $19. Hot.
Leather booties only $29?
Hot shot. Get another hot at Famous Footwear. Get another hot.
Well, it's 1986, and women with eating disorders like anorexia and bulimia are finally coming out of hiding and getting the desperate medical attention that they need. But there's another side to this troubling binge purging problem, rapid weight loss. On Wednesday's Twin Cities Live, you'll meet 2 men who suffered from bulimia, how they recovered. We'll hear all about it, and how did their families cope with this problem that they had. It's 641-1298. Come down and join me in the studio audience. Twin Cities Live. Call 641-1298. for your free tickets.
In recent years, most innovations in frozen pizza have come in the area of crust. Thicker crusts, thinner crusts, lighter crusts, crustier crusts. Double Top Pizza from Tombstone puts the crust where it belongs, on the bottom of the top. And our crusts are doing double duty because Double Top doubles the toppings. Double the meat, double the cheese, double the taste. Double Top Pizza from Tombstone. You'll think twice before you buy anything else.
Bet you can't guess the name of this detergent. It whitens clothes without the worry of liquid chlorine bleach.
This detergent's terrific. Look how white it got your shirt.
Yeah, Mom, and it doesn't fade flowers like your liquid bleach did.
Guess again. Your grandmother used it, and today it's got a special whitening formula with Color Safe bleach.
Whites like this used to worry me. I never knew how much liquid bleach to add.
And it showed. Give up. It's Oxidol, the only heavy-duty detergent with, ta-da, those famous green crystals with Color Safe bleach. So you can whiten berry-stained shirts like these without the worry of liquid bleach. Watch. We'll soak one in a leading detergent with liquid bleach, one in Oxidol. Look, both look white. Can you guess which is which? Now you can. The liquid bleach shirt pales next to the Oxidol shirt.
Why did I wait so long to try Oxidol? All those uniforms I messed up.
I still love you, Mom. So who whitens without the worry of liquid bleach? Guess.
Armor remembers.
Remember waking up to the smell of Armor bacon as a kid? You'd follow that sizzle, and there'd be Mom in her old chenille robe. She'd hand you a strip of that lean Armor bacon. Then before she could fry an egg, that bacon would be gone. Seemed like you could taste how much Armor cared. Well, Armor still cares, and you can still taste it.
Well, whether you agree with all of our guests, we certainly appreciate them coming down and visiting with us today and telling us about their opinions of things that are going on. Turmoil in the Toy Box is the title of the book by Phil Phillips, and you can get that at local bookstores. As far as Dan and Steve Peters are concerned, Rock's Hidden Persuader, and you can get that, The Truth About Rock, Box 9222, North St. Paul, Minnesota 55109, and Mr. Bill Lindsay of The Impalers. And you can pick up his records at any local record store. Gentlemen, I want to thank you all for being with us. I don't know, some of us agree, some of us disagree, but thanks for being with us and giving us your opinion of what's going on. We have some more questions for you here, right here.
How can you say that people commit suicide because of videos? Don't people commit suicide because they're depressed?
We find that it's just one of the things that helps to encourage them over the edge. And listen, our problem, Bob, is not with the style of the music. We just want parents to get back into their kids' lives and look at the lyrics, the lifestyles, the goals of the musicians, and the graphics, including some of the very graphic videos we've looked at today.
What do you feel is the thing that attracts teenagers to records like that? Is it family problems, or is it trouble in the streets or something that makes them listen to it?
I think it's free commercials like we just saw here. They get all the free time on MTV to advertise their records.
No, it's
they don't
just
have to pay for
fantasy
that.
and release.
That's
all it is. That's all it is. I want to challenge the Peters brothers. We've invited them many times down to our shows to see us play and perform, and I just want to tell them to come down and see us Sunday night at Ryan's in St. Paul and see our show.
Oh, you would have to get a plug in there. Okay, go right ahead, ma'am.
That's fine.
I think what you three are doing is just wonderful. And I was just wondering, is there pamphlets that you send out like monthly or anything like that we can
We have a monthly newsletter to help keep parents informed of what's happening. It's called The Truth About Rock Report, and you can get it by writing to
Let me say something right here about motivation. Our motivation for doing these things is not to keep your kids from having a good time. It's because we care about the children of America. We care about what's in their lives, what's in their hearts.
And you make a lot of money.
And we want, baloney. My secretary made more than I did.
I believe that people should start, I understand getting back into their children's lives, but naturally centralizing on all these different things, it should be, you're going more towards the actual people who sing the songs. A lot of the groups don't have any actual control over what they sing or
Yes,
their
they
videos.
do.
It's their directors.
They have complete artistic control over their record covers, such as Scorpions' Virgin Killer here. I don't know if you even dare put it on television. Scorpions came to town, to St. Paul Civic Center and made thousands and millions of dollars.
That's not even the album that was released in America, man. That was over in Germany. And
no, this album was released.
It was on import. It wasn't released.
I'd like to just say thank you for all of you for being here because...
Hotel accommodations and dining provided by the Radisson University Hotel, 615 Washington Avenue Southeast on the University of Minnesota East Bank campus. Limousine service for the guests of Twin Cities Lodge, provided by Henderson Chauffeured Cadillacs. Hair and makeup, courtesy of the Hair Forum, Westbrook Mall, Brooklyn Center.
I want to make a comment. As a teenager is 18. I used to listen to Pat Benatar and rock, and I can say that I've tried suicide, but I did go through it because the Lord Jesus Christ saved me.
That's what it's all about. Praise God.
And I never, ever wanted to commit suicide.
I appreciate that.
I don't think it's the style of the music that's the problem. I think it's the subject matter, and why does it have to be satanic? Why can't it be Christian?
Not all of it is. These guys read things into it that's not even there.
But the problem is
they make
the
it
stuff that's selling
satanic.
is the
Just like the guy with the toys. They're, ravers.
80% of all music sold last year in America was heavy metal.
I was just wondering, why do all our hard rock and roll stars look like a bunch of African bush monkeys?
Because why do y'all...
Carol Burnett spoofs nighttime soaps this fall. Farrah plays a famous Nazi hunter this fall. So this week's People spotlights everything worth watching this fall. People celebrates people with our big annual